Good morning. It's 9 o'clock where you are, but I'm in Dallas, Texas. And I've just got a few minutes to put up a sermon before my Uber arrives. So let me talk to you a little bit about something important. Guess what? We've gotten all the way to chapter 2 of Nehemiah. So there was this guy. He was a race car driver. And he had developed a particular kind of car. They called it the Maharan Wasp. They called it the Wasp because it had this pointy tail of back, even back in the early days of racing. This goes way back in the early days of racing. I think it was 1911 is when it was built. That they were worried about aerodynamics. And originally, in these long races, there would be two people in the car. There'd be the driver, and there'd be the mechanic. And when the Wasp came out, it came out with one seat. Now, we've been talking about teamwork a lot, and now all of a sudden we're talking about something that takes one person. Little twist here. The driver then would drive along, and he would be responsible not just if the car broke down, but also he would have to look around to see where the other cars were near him. The mechanic normally gave the proximity to the other cars, let the driver know. Go left, go right, go higher, go lower, go straight. The Wasp made its debut on the Indianapolis 500, and originally that track was paved with bricks. They were doing a whopping 85 miles an hour back then, which was just unheard of. And in fact, there were scientists that had already said that the human body could not travel faster than 32 miles an hour because you would not be able to breathe. Your lungs couldn't take it. Some people are just wrong. But can you imagine going 85 miles an hour over these rumply bricks just being beaten to death? On this Wasp, the first time out, of course you can guess, the designers had one goal in mind. One goal was to win this race. And they did. And they did it because they had a singleness of purpose, because they worked together with two designers, an entire pit crew, everything you could imagine to go together so that that one man could have his winning goal, his winning victory. I want us to look at Nehemiah. We're in chapter 2, start with verse 5, where it reads, "And I answered the king, if it please the king, and if your servants has found favor in the sight, let him send me to the city of Judah, where my ancestors were buried, so that I can rebuild it." We've been talking about that goal the whole time, right? Then the king, with the queen by his side, asked me, "How long will your journey take? And when will you get back?" If it pleased the king to send me, so I set a time. I think that's important. We need to set a time. There are such things as goals, and there are such things as what's called SMART goals. SMART goals are those that are specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. He does all those. And he says here, so set a time. Verse 7. I also said to him, if it please the king, may I have letters to the governor of Tyrus of Euphrates, and so that I will provide me safe conduct until I arrive in Judah. And may I have letters of Asaph, keeper of the royal park, so that he will give me timber to make the beams of the gates. See, give me timber. That's a big deal. Not paying for it. Give me timber. To make beams of the gates of the citadel of the temple, and for the city walls, and for the residence I will occupy. And because of the gracious hand of God was on me, the king granted my requests. That's a long way to go. Going all the way from, this is something we can't do, then I have this great ask, and then the king saying, yeah, I can do that. But as soon as he gets there, says he sits there for 3 days quietly by himself. We're speculating he was praying. We're speculating he was making plans. We know he was generating interest. Who's the new guy? He's come here from the home, well, now their home country. And he says, what's going on with him? And after 3 days he emerges, and guess who he takes with him to survey the property? His pit crew. It's all about teamwork. It appears there's just one person out front, one person getting the glory, one person who's the mouthpiece. But the truth is, the fact is, it takes an entire crew. It takes a team. What team do you need to be part of? What is God calling you to join? I know some of you are watching this on my YouTube channel. Some of you are watching this on my Facebook. But I really encourage you to jump on over to 9 o'clock church, to my homepage. The number 9, spell out o'clock the traditional way.com. And there, if you'll be able to watch the sermons, scroll on down to where it says prayer request. And if you're interested in more, then I'm interested in letting you know more. I'd like to have a time where we get together at one of the local establishments. And I'm going to wait until we have between 10 and 15 people that say, hey, I'd like to know something about this. And then we'll get together. We'll sit down. I get some documents in your hand saying, hey, this is what our goals are. This is what our dream is. And basically what we want to do, we want to be a church that is geared in on the fellowship of family, that will bear down on prayer for each other. We want to be a family that does local missions. And we want to be a family that loves each other. If that's what interests you, please go down there to the prayer request and just give me a little thing that says, I'm interested. Please consider me. Thank you. You have a great Sabbath, a great Sunday. I'll see you next week.